Oh my, they told you love was a game, but forgot to mention the cost of playing. In the fifth house, Venus carries the memory of joy turned fragile, where the spotlights sometimes burned more than it blessed. Welcome back, beautiful ones. This is Venus Through the Houses, and today we're stepping into the fifth house, the realm of romance, creativity, children, and joy itself. Venus, right here, this symbol, when Venus lands here, beauty becomes entwined with expression. Your art, your play, your love stories. Behind the glitter, there's often a wound. The question is, am I lovable when I'm not dazzling anymore? And if this is your first time joining the Venus series, make sure to go back and watch the episode 1, and I'll put it right here for you guys, where we explore who Venus really is and how she shapes your story and why her placement in this house matters so deeply. That foundation will help everything we talk about today sink in even deeper. So stay with me, because in this episode, we're going to uncover that wound, trace its distortion, and then reclaim the radiant joy that was never truly lost. And let me ask you this: have you ever felt like joy was stolen from you the moment you tried to express it? When Venus is in the fifth house, the wound isn't abstract, it lives in the small, tender moments you still remember. It's the drawing you made as a child that someone laughed at. It's the song you sang that was called too much. It's the crush you gave your whole heart to, only to feel abandoned when they turned away. Over time, you learned a dangerous equation, that joy plus expression equals risk, and that love plus creativity equals performance. So you begin to guard your joy, to edit your art, to flirt, to shine, to entertain, but always with that hidden question underneath: will they still love me if I stop dazzling? This is the fifth house beauty wound, the place where your purest joy got tangled in conditions, and where your heart quietly wonders if it's safe to be seen as it really is. So, what happens when love becomes performance instead of play? When Venus in the fifth house carries this wound forward, joy begins to wear a mask. You might find yourself overperforming. You're the life of the party, the one who always has the joke, the smile, the sparkle. On the surface, it looks like freedom, but inside, it feels like pressure. Because somewhere along the way, the story became, if I'm not entertaining, I'm not enough. Love starts to feel like an audience you must keep clapping. Creativity feels like a show you must keep polishing. And romance becomes a script you're afraid to improvise. And here's the cruelest twist: the more you perform, the less you feel the very joy you're chasing. The laughter echoes hollow. The applause doesn't land, because deep down, what you really want, beautiful one, isn't an audience. What you really want is just to be witnessed. This is the distortion. When Venus in the fifth house confuses being adored for being loved, and confuses approval for connection. So let's take a moment and think about this. What if your radiance was never meant to be earned, but only remembered? Venus in the fifth house comes to teach you that joy is not a performance, it's your birthright. The wound said, you're only lovable when you dazzle. The distortion said, keep the applause going or they'll leave. But the truth is softer, older, and far more powerful. Your light doesn't exist because someone else notices it. It exists because you are here. The reclamation begins the moment you give yourself permission to play again, not to impress, not to seduce, not even to prove, but to feel your own heart come alive. Write that poem that makes no sense. Dance so badly in your kitchen. Laugh too loud at your own jokes. Who cares? These aren't small acts, they are soul medicine. Each one untangles joy from judgment and reroutes your love in the only soil it was ever meant to grow in, your own belonging. Because Venus in the fifth house was never about keeping an audience. It was always about keeping your heart open, keeping it radiant, messy, creative, and alive. So let's think about this in a different way. What if life itself was waiting to be your canvas? When Venus lives in the fifth house, love is not just a feeling, it's a creative act. Every choice becomes a brushstroke. Every laugh becomes a song. Every kiss, every word, every bold expression of yourself is an art in motion. This is where the distortion dissolves, because here you are no longer performing for applause. You are creating for being alive. The fifth house teaches your love is the fire that paints galaxies. You must remember who you are. You painted galaxies. It doesn't need polish. It needs honesty. It doesn't need an audience. It needs embodiment. So the medicine of Venus here is simply, it's very simple but profound. It's to let your joy create worlds again. To see your relationships not as stages, but as playgrounds. To see your art not as proof, but as prayer. To see your own radiance not as a mask, but as the sun. Steady, generous, impossible to extinguish. Because when you live from this place that I've just described, your life stops being a performance and starts becoming a masterpiece. Now, beautiful one, Venus in the fifth house is not here to make you an endless entertainer. She is here to remind you that joy is not fragile, it is eternal. The wound may have told you that love disappears when the spotlight fades, and the distortion may have convinced you that you are only worthy when you perform. But the truth is far simpler and far more radiant. You were never meant to audition for love. You weren't. That's not what you're supposed to be doing with Venus here. You were born as its living expression. That's all you have to do is express your true self. So let your laughter be unpolished. Let your art be messy and raw. Let your romance be playful, alive, and yes, imperfect. Because Venus in the fifth house does not ask you to sparkle for anyone. She asks you to burn from within, to become your own creative fire, and to let that fire illuminate every corner of your life, not as a performance, but as your natural light. And beautiful ones, if this spoke to you, remember the journey doesn't end here. Go watch my Pluto Through the Houses series, where to understand the deeper transformation shaping your soul. The soul's path, don't forget about that. This is where I'm doing the North Node series that I just finished. Especially the fifth house and the 11th houses is the one you want to look at. And I will put those up here. They show how your creative fire is meant to balance with your contribution to the collective. You'll begin to see how your destiny is unfolding. Each one weaves into the Venus story you're living right now. And beautiful ones, don't forget, YouTube has added a new feature called Hype. I just found out about this because people were hyping my video, so I want to thank everybody that's hyped my video. If this message lit something in you, go hype this video. Every hype pushes it out further, helping more souls like you find what they've been waiting to hear.